Hey y'all, it's Sarah, the wine-loving bookworm, back with another book and wine review on your Monday night. Sorry I didn't get around to it yesterday. I totally forgot it was spring forward when I woke up yesterday, so I literally lost an hour. I wasn't prepared for it at all, and the day just got away from me, so I wasn't able to do it yesterday. But I'm back tonight. Okay, so first with the wine. I got this wine from a wine club I'm a member of, Wink Wine Club, and they actually upgraded it the last box I got, because I usually get like kind of the cheaper ones, and they threw this one in there for the same price as I usually buy. It's called Diviner. It's a 2016 Cabernet Sauvignon, so I'm really excited to try it. I hope it's really good. They say it's full body, dry, 13.9% alcohol, high on fruit and earth, whatever that means, moderate on wood. Notes of blackberry, oak, and rosemary. It's from the Santa Ynez Valley. Happy Canyon. That sounds like a good place to be a grape. Fermented in stainless steel. Rich, but not opulent. I mean, that's not me. I was going to say, that's like me. That's not me. I'm neither of those things. I'm not opulent, so I'm in line with half of that phrase. Okay, so let's give it a shot before I make a bigger fool out of myself. I'm using my, you probably can't see that, but it's my Smuggler's Notch wine glass. We go skiing in Vermont sometimes, and we go to Smuggler's Notch, and it's amazing, and I had to get a wine glass there. Anyway, I digress. Let me try the wine. Ooh. Hold on, I need to sniff it first, right? Smell it? Sniff it. Oh, that's good. That's like really smooth. Now, they did say to keep it uncorked, open it, let it breathe. Is that the right terminology? For 20 minutes. And I didn't really do that because I just got home from work. So I can taste a little of the acidity. So I wonder if it's a little bit better if it's been breathing for a while. But let me try it again. Hold on. Let me see if I can get the rosemary, oak, and what was the other thing? Blackberry. It's got like a little bit of a bite. Ooh, I just got some rosemary. I just got some rosemary. Ooh, I'm excited. Okay. I don't know about oak. I don't really like oak because that's why I don't like Chardonnays. I'm not sure about blackberry. Let me try one more time. You kind of get the rosemary as like an after taste. That's interesting. Good. Okay, so Diviner. Really good Cabernet. All right, so let's move on to the book. I read The Furious Hours by Casey Cep. So a little bit about the author. I'm not going to say a lot because it's kind of tied up in the book itself. She is a staff writer at the New Yorker. She went to Harvard and Oxford, and she was a Rhodes Scholar. I mean, hello. And this is her first book. So, Harper Lee wrote To Kill a Mockingbird. Unless you're living under a rock, you've at least heard of that book. Also was a movie. She went to Alex City, Alabama, to attend the trial of a man named Robert Burns. I think this was like in the 60s, who was charged with killing Reverend Willie Maxwell, maybe the 70s, in front of multiple witnesses at the Reverend's stepdaughter's funeral. Walks in, pow pow, shoots him in the head. Why would anybody ever do that? Well, plot twist. It is pretty much common knowledge that Reverend Willie Maxwell killed his stepdaughter to get insurance money. And not only did he kill his stepdaughter, he killed 4 other relatives to get insurance money. He had multiple insurance policies taken out on his family, and then they would mysteriously die, including 2 wives. 2 wives. He's on his 3rd wife now. Why she marries him, who knows? So the authorities could never prove that he was killing them. They did try to do it, but he actually went to trial, but they could never prove that he actually killed them. So, I mean, it was so bad, too. It was like, and Willie Maxwell, too, is African-American. So, in the South, you feel like, you know, they would just do it anyway, but he got acquitted all the time. It would be like, he'd kill them and then put them in a car and, like, make this, like, minor accident and, like, leave them on the side of the road. Like, they died in the accident, but it was clear they didn't. But they could never, I guess they just couldn't really pin it on him. So he got away with it 5 times until this guy walks into a funeral and kills him. So, what a twist and turny kind of thing. And Reverend Willie Maxwell used a lawyer in town whose name was Tom Radney to defend him and to help him out with his insurance policies. And this guy got rich off this guy because he was getting portions of the insurance policies, because the insurance companies didn't want to pay either. They were like, what? No, they had to, because there was just nothing they could do. They couldn't prove that he did it, even though everybody knew he did it. So Robert Burns, the guy who shot him, was related to the stepdaughter and was just angry at him and pissed off about the whole thing. So that's why he did it. So again, Tom Radney helps Reverend Willie Maxwell get out of his charges for murder, helps him collect on the insurance policies where the insurance companies don't want to pay, and now turns around and defends Robert Burns for killing Reverend Maxwell. So you can see why a writer would be interested in covering this story. Also, Tom Radney later on talked to Harper Lee a lot about it, gave her all of his files. So he's right in the middle of this. Harper Lee wanted this to be her second novel. Most people don't know, when she wrote To Kill a Mockingbird, like real early on, I don't exactly recall what year it was, she didn't follow it up with anything. So she wanted this to be her second novel. She did all the research, but she never completed it. Now, throughout the book, there's some reasons for that. They kind of go into a little bit, or intimate at least. She couldn't really find a good protagonist for the novel. The Reverend, obviously, was like basically a serial killer. The lawyer was shady as hell, you know. Robert Burns, he didn't really factor into the story with the insurance stuff. He just came later on. He actually moved to town like later on. So she couldn't find a good protagonist. She wasn't sure how to tell the story. The timeline was kind of screwy. They kind of all ran together, the different things. Facts were muddy. The Reverend was dead, so she couldn't really interview him or get a good idea. Anxiety of living up To Kill a Mockingbird. I mean, it won the Pulitzer Prize. It had a movie with Gregory Peck. She made tons of money off of it. So I think she had a lot of anxiety about doing a second novel. Concerned about how she was portraying African Americans. This is a difficult situation. You've got an African American suggested killer, and an African American who shoots him, who gets, she was worried about some of those portrayals, because some of those things did come up in To Kill a Mockingbird, that were some of the criticisms of the book. And she was a huge drinker, and so a lot of people think her drinking was out of control at this time, and she just wasn't focused and couldn't focus on the book. So when it was announced she was releasing a second book, all the people in this Alabama town have been waiting for her to do this book, and they're like waiting and wanting her to do this book. And so then they announced she was going to do a second book, not that long ago, I think. They were all excited about it. Oh, it's going to be, she was going to call it The Reverend, and it's going to be about the Reverend, and blah, blah, blah. No, it was Go Set a Watchman, which, if you know anything about Harper Lee, was the book she released before she died. That was actually her second novel. It was actually the first one she wrote, that when she tried to get it signed somewhere, they didn't really like it, and that's what led to her doing To Kill a Mockingbird. So they were all real disappointed down there in Alabama, and Alabama's where she's from too, Southern. I guess they say some of the best writers come out of the South. So she was just, they were all like, really, you're not doing the book, but you have this other book? Okay, whatever. So Casey Cep, the author of this book, she's working for the New Yorker, and when she found out Harper Lee was releasing a second book, she came down to Alabama, where she was living, to cover it, and she learned about this murder and this insurance fraud and all that stuff, and that she had never finished it. And at Harper Lee's, at the end of her life, she died in 2016, I believe, she was starting to get, at least suggested to get, some dementia. I actually think she might have just been like, I don't know where anything is. And Tom Radney's family, he had already died, requested all his files be returned, and she says she doesn't even remember him, she doesn't know who she is. That's what her sister said. I don't know. She was a very private person and would say things like that all the time to get people out of her hair. So I'm not sure if she really had dementia or if she was just saying that. But after her death, all his files did get returned to him. And so Casey Cep came around asking about it, and she decided to write the book, and they gave her, their blessing. So it's kind of set up in 4 parts. It covers the Reverend, it covers the lawyer, it covers Robert Burns, and then there's this huge part at the end that is about Harper Lee. I loved that part. Her whole life story, pretty much, you know, she wouldn't let anybody write a biography of her when she was living. She said it had to be after she died. And this, it was just fascinating. I loved every second of it. Did you know she grew up next to Truman Capote? I did not know that. She helped him write In Cold Blood, and this book was supposed to be her In Cold Blood, but she never made it happen. Her dad was the inspiration for Atticus Finch, and he used to go around calling himself Atticus too. He was a lawyer, and he would sign things like Atticus. Go Set a Watchman was actually her first novel. I said that before. She's very private, and Nell, N-E-L-L-E, is actually her first name, and it's Ellen spelled backwards, which I think was after one of her grandmothers, which I thought was interesting. But she didn't like that word because it was like Nell, I guess, but people would change it to Nellie, so she didn't like that name. So she went by Harper, which is her second name. And then there's a bunch of pictures in the middle, which I'm like such a fan of when it's like nonfiction for you to put in pictures. And like, here are the insurance things, you know, the insurance policies and pictures of his funeral. And this was the Reverend, who was actually, you know, good looking guy. So I loved this book. I thought it was so great. There was a couple sections where it got a little slow and it started lagging. But to know that she like knew Truman Capote, and he was kind of jealous of her. He was real successful, but he was kind of jealous of her success, and that she helped him write In Cold Blood. And there's a lot of rumors around that In Cold Blood, if you don't know, just Google it. It's a true crime story that he wrote. It wasn't exactly completely factual, and he always was like, oh, of course it's factual. I would never write anything like that. And she kind of says, no, it wasn't factual. He made up a lot of crap in there. So all that stuff was just totally fascinating. So I loved it. And one of the quotes I just want to end this with that I just loved from the book, there was a lot of them, but I love this one. And this is when it says Big Tom in here, that means Tom Radney, the lawyer. But Harper Lee returned over and over again to the town where she was born, and Big Tom never really left. Both of them were deeply loyal to the South, even when it disappointed them or disapproved of them. Just love that quote. And she always wanted to kind of show the contradiction of maybe people who, like her father, that would like defend African Americans, but at the same time be for segregation. That was one of her things. I think that's in Go Set a Watchman. Haven't read it yet, but I'm planning on it. So that that was too controversial, really, and too like in depth. So people didn't want to, back in the day, publish those books. I heard Go Set a Watchman is not great, but I do want to get it and try it anyway. Anyway, I'm so excited about this book. I thought it was amazing. Like I said, couple slow parts, but just the whole thing was so fantastical in the beginning with this Reverend getting away with all this stuff. Being a black man in the South, too. Like, I didn't get it. But, and then just the part about her life. Fascinated. A great book. Casey Cep did a wonderful job for a debut novel. You know, you go, girl. This is awesome. And it was International Women's Day yesterday, so here's a good woman author for you to pick up. All right, so Furious Hours. Pick it up, ladies, men, everybody. Next, I'm going to read, and this is my book club book for Thursday, and I have not started it yet. Shh, don't tell anybody. So I am going to get on it. But it's called The Tea Girl of Hummingbird Lane. So I know nothing about it. I will let you guys know next week how it was. Pick yourself up some Divina. I think it's about $30 a bottle, like retail. So that's a little much. But man, it is good. Let's see if I can get any of that ochre blackberry. Man, you do get that rosemary. Maybe I'm getting a little bit of blackberry now. I don't know. It's probably a suggestion. Anyway, guys, have a great week, and I will see you next Sunday. Cheers.